Welcome to the Engineer Your Success podcast. I am your host, Dr. James Bryant. This podcast is designed to provide you with tools, tips, and techniques to help you achieve success both in business and in life. And it is my pleasure to guide you on your journey to designing and living a life where you are winning at work and at home. I really do hope that you are having a great week this week. I want to thank James Taylor, who talked about work life harmony in last week's episode. And this week's episode is going to be a little bit different. It's a solo episode, but it's really an episode that's focused on my personal reflections over a situation that I've been going through over the past few weeks. So, this is going to be a very personal episode, very personal to me. I hope that you're able to find value in this episode. But last week, I heard the words that no person ever wants to hear. And that was, Mr. Bryant, your mother, she just may have taken her last breath, or she's about to take her last breath. And so I kind of want to set the stage for this comment, where this came from, and how it really fits with the title in terms of being able to master every moment, to be able to enjoy every moment, embracing the beauty of time and finding joy in those everyday moments. Let me set the stage for you. There really is safety in knowing what comes next in the rituals that we build. For me, it's my morning routine. I'm reading the Bible, have a cup of coffee, do an early morning workout. I'll send a inspirational text message to my family. And there's also the constant day to day activities that we do where we get into these routines where we're prioritizing work, tasks, building my business, serving my clients. And yes, even me, there's some times where I truly overlook what really matters most. But every so often, there is something that happens that shakes us to our core that helps us to begin to focus on what truly matters. So, again, a few weeks ago, I thought this was going to be another normal routine day, getting up, doing my morning routine, read the Bible, grab some coffee, send the inspirational messages to the family. I head over to Orange Theory for my workout. And then when I finish the workout, I come back to my car to a slew of missed text messages, messages from my aunt, or voicemail from my aunt, voicemail from my brother, a voicemail and a message from my wife. And so you can imagine that I'm pretty frazzled trying to figure out what's going on. So they finally get a hold of me and they tell me that they've been trying to get into the house to find my mom. So they're eventually able to get into the house. They find her and they take her to the ER. And my mother is verbally expressed a DNR, so she did not want to be resuscitated if she was ever put in any of these kinds of health compromising situations. And another thing, for those of you that don't know my mother, some of you listening may, but because you know me, but for those of you that don't, she believed from a faith perspective for her, not necessarily for everyone else, that either God was going to heal her or he was going to take her. That was how she lived her life. And until that time where she was in the ER, I can almost guarantee, unless she was visiting someone else in the hospital and praying for them, she hadn't set foot in a hospital for any kind of treatment in over 50 years. That was just how she chose to live her life. So they were able to place her in a hospice facility eh, so that she could continue to breathe and be there peacefully. And it really didn't dawn on me the gravity of the situation. Like I knew they had found her. She was unconscious. I knew that they did some initial tests when she went to the ER. I knew they transferred her over to hospice, but I really didn't have a feel or a sense of how much or how little time that I had. And so this is where it gets to that whole day-to-day routine. So that morning, I have a few client sessions that are set up. I had a training session that I was working on to deliver the week after this particular event happened. So my mind is at that time focused on all of these things that I need to do, not necessarily on what really mattered to me. And it was my wife and my oldest son who began to call and talk to me about, hey, when are you going down to North Carolina? When are you going to see your mom? So eventually I sit down in a moment of reflection and say, why am I not going? Why is this a struggle for me? I think part of it was that I didn't want to face the reality of the situation. And so it was easier for me to piddle around, do some things, do some work activities instead of actually going down there to face what was going on. But eventually, after talks with my wife and having that inner moment, I decided to drive down to North Carolina. I drove down there, was thinking about my mom the whole way through. I get there, it's about a little over a 3 hour drive. And so I get there and I'm talking to the doctor. And the doctor says, Mr. Bryant, your mom, it may be 6 hours, it may be 2 days, but he doubts that it'll be longer than that. And I think that's when it really hit me that this is real. This is happening right now. So I was able to stay at the hospice facility that night. And I'm gonna tell you, it was one of the most peaceful and surreal nights I've ever had. So we're there. The only noise in the room, because she's not hooked up to any respirator or anything like that. The only noise in the room is her breathing. And so just imagine as my mother is breathing and I'm playing some piano hymns in the background, some Bible scripture in the background, that I'm laying there sleeping, holding her hand, kind of going over there as she's still unconscious, but she is very peaceful. And so my wife would text or my brother would text what's going on. And my response is that she's peacefully sleeping. And that really was it. And that whole night, the only time there was any kind of disturbance was when the nurse came in to check in on mom, but she was peaceful. She was sleeping. She was resting. And that I think did a lot for me and to me to be able to experience that. So that morning, I got up, went and grabbed a cup of coffee. I come back. As I'm coming back from getting the coffee, that's when the doctor says that opening statement to me. Mr. Bryant, we think that your mother has just taken her last breath or she's about to take her last breath. Do you want to go hold her hand? And I was able to go in and be present with my mother and hold her hand as she was transitioning. But I think it really helped me to see and experience the peace in that moment. Helped me to experience and see the peace in that moment. So today, as I'm recording this, we had her graveside homegoing service on October 25th. And so this is the day, I'm recording this podcast episode the very next day. And just, I really do appreciate the woman that my mother was. I love the fact that she was able to leave life like she lived it, trusting in God and being a woman of faith. She taught me so many things throughout my life. And the great thing is that I was able to have a great relationship with her. So it wasn't as if it was any kind of a strange relationship. I talk to her almost every day. I would call her on the way to dropping the boys off to school, and we would have these fun conversations. And the boys have times that they can remember going down there and having fun with her. And so I have nothing but good memories. But I'm glad that I had people in my life that could remind me of what really matters, because I don't think I would be experiencing the level of peace that I have if I didn't make it down there, if I wasn't able to see that she was not in pain and to see that she was really peaceful. With all of that, what I want to express to you, the listener, is take time to focus in on those things that matter most to you. If there are relationships that you have that may be strained, maybe it's time to think about mending those relationships. If you've been putting off visiting a family member or a friend thinking that, oh, there's time, I'll deal with that later, I don't have to deal with that now, you never know. You never know when things are going to happen. So just think through that this week. I want you to focus in on what really matters to you. Next week, we'll get back to normal programming, so to speak. We're starting a new kind of series on leadership, and we're going to talk about the difference between leadership and management. We're also going to do, in the next few months, a year end review. We do that episode every year, very similar to what we did for the mid year review. And there's some other special surprises and things that I have in store for our podcast listening audience as we move into November and December. Just think about, you want to finish the year strong, and so we're going to talk about that a little bit more next week. I'm going to end this podcast episode how I end every podcast episode, and that's this: many people know what to do, fewer people know how to do it, and there's a select group of people that actually follow through and do it. And I want you to be part of that select few. I want you to be part of that select few that can walk in forgiveness, that can walk in gratitude, so that those relationships are mended and you can experience peace right now, right here, today. I want you to be great this week. This is Dr. James Bryant, your guide for winning at work and at home. Thanks.